Last week, I chaired a field hearing of the Senate Judiciary Committee. I did it in Burlington, Vermont, on an issue of critical importance, preserving an open internet. Our committee heard testimony about the need for concrete fundamental protections to ensure that the internet is not abused by those who control how we connect to the net. And the timing of the hearing was not a coincidence. I convened it during a week when Americans were gathering to celebrate what our founders put in motion more than 200 years ago. Now, no one at that time could have imagined the internet or how important it's going to be, but the sentiment and priorities expressed at the hearing would have made our founders proud. We heard from hardworking business owners and consumers about the role of the internet in enhancing free expression, but also as a free and open marketplace where competition drives innovation. And I brought the Judiciary Committee to Burlington to show the Federal Communications Commission and Congress that the decisions we make on this issue aren't just decisions for here in Washington, but they affect people throughout the country. And witnesses at this field hearing warned of how the FCC's proposed approach to new net neutrality rules would actually harm small businesses, community institutions, and consumers, the people we have in every one of our states whom we represent. I'll give you an example. Cabot Orton, he's the proprietor of the Vermont Country Store. He testified that this company started off as just a local general store in Vermont, now has an e-commerce site, and that accounts for 40% of its overall revenue. But a third of their 450 employees support those internet transactions. These are a lot of people hired in our little state of Vermont because they have open access to the internet. And Mr. Orton was clear about his concerns. He said, we're not asking for special treatment or incentives or subsidies. All the small business community asks is simply to preserve and protect internet commerce as it exists today, which has served all businesses remarkably well. I have to agree with him. Another Vermont small business owner, Lisa Gronveld, explained their company, Logic Supply, spent money building a quality product. They spent money building the product, not in purchasing preferential internet access. She said, without an open and fair internet based on equal access, our business wouldn't even exist today. And yet, it's one of the best small businesses in Vermont. Now, both of them testified that the success they've achieved with their online business would have been difficult to accomplish if the internet had been a pay-to-play world when they initially launched their sites. Well, think of all the companies, whether Vermont, Massachusetts, or any other state, for next year, the year after, the year after, the year after that, wanting to start if suddenly the rules are different than for them than for a company that's got a lot of money. We heard other perspectives too. Vermont State Librarian Martha Reed testified about the need to ensure equal access for those who rely on public libraries for the internet access. Many of those are people in rural areas. Now, Vermonters know the love I have of the library I frequented growing up, the Kellogg Hubbard Library. I had my first library card there in Montpelier when I was 4. I went there to learn, not just to read. And Ms. Reed testified that, quote, all Americans, including the most disenfranchised citizens, those who would have no way to access the internet without the library, need to be able to use internet resources on an equal footing. And Ms. Reed's testimony is supported by former FCC Commissioner Michael Copps, who explained that, quote, an internet controlled and managed for the benefit of the haves discriminates against our rights not just as consumers, but more importantly as citizens, close quote. Now, these are testimony from individuals offering a relevant selection of the real world experiences that have to be heard by the FCC and Congress as this debate continues. And that's why I took the hearing 500 miles from the Senate so they could be heard. I don't want to see an internet that's divided into the haves and have-nots. I agree with the Vermonters who testified. I don't want to see an internet where those, excuse me, I don't want to see an internet where those who can afford to pay muffle the voices of those who cannot, or an online world that's split into fast lanes and slow lanes, where pay-to-play deals dictate who can reach consumers. That runs against everything on which the internet was founded. So last night I joined Congresswoman Doris Matsui to introduce the Online Competition and Consumer Choice Act. That would require the FCC to ban online pay-to-play deals. Open internet principles are the Bill of Rights for the online world. We have to get this right. If we fail to get it right, I guarantee you, Madam President, we will not get another chance, and we will not have these companies growing and starting up throughout your state, my state, and all other states.